Hi, my name's Scarlett.
And I'm Harry Johnson.
And we're going to talk about our flat that we made for cash and delivery.
Yep, it's the front door flat, so obviously it's got the front door right here. If you come into the back of it here, you can see that it's made out of 3x2 wood. We use this for a fair few reasons. One of them is it's much sturdier than the thinner wood, and also it goes back quite far, so it looks much more
like
substantial.
The set carries on.
So it looks like actual brick. Another thing, this set isn't moved at all. It's a static set, so
none of the set moves, is it?
No, so it's all static. So it doesn't matter how heavy it is. So the heavier, the better, really.
That's why we use this type of wood. We use the instead of standard wood, we use the raw wood because it's not going to be moved anyway, and so it's not touched or anything. So it's cheaper, and it didn't actually come that rough anyway. So in the end, so we were quite lucky. In addition,
for extra support, we've added this triangular piece in right here and weighed it down with some stage weights, which
we actually got from the Lyceum Theatre, so they're not actually ours. But
how did you go about getting hold of those?
We phoned them up, and well, one of the other backstage crew works there, doesn't she?
Yeah, she works at the Lyceum, so she knows some
contacts, so she allowed us
borrowing stage weights rather than hiring them. That works out cheaper as well, so that's all bonus.
So it's the contacts that we had rather than trying to buy them.
Okay, so you mentioned the difference between sanded wood and plain wood. What were the potential dangers?
The potential dangers with plain wood is splinters.
We're making this out, it could have damaged us as well. But
yeah, that was a risk we were willing to take because it was much cheaper. If we needed to, then we would have sanded it down ourselves. But when it came, it was pretty good wood. You can see right here that it is smooth wood. It's not rough as you'd expect.
And the people that were making this set weren't not idiots, so they knew what to do, and they weren't going to be like throwing it about and stuff. And they were very careful about handling it.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you're handling the wood, obviously there were precautions that you took for handling it. What did you wear? How did you work?
We all wore protective gear, didn't we?
Yeah, safety gloves definitely.
Yeah, and then hard shoes as well. So if we did drop something on
steel toe cap boots were definitely important because, well, I know from experience it hurts dropping wood on your toes.
So we were all careful, weren't we? So
yeah, we were all careful, and also we used larger pieces right here. This is 2x4 right at the bottom, just as an extra base. It's more of a footing,
wasn't it?
More of a footing on the floor. Yeah,
it was rather than having it that way up. So it was rather than having it, so we could have a. What is it? The
more on the ground.
Yeah, more on the ground, so more
contact.
Stability. That's it. Yeah, surface area on the ground rather than having it like that.
We also used different bits from previous sets. I believe this is from Bugsy. That was also used
from Bugsy as well.
Blood Brothers as well. That's just pretty much it's a return to hide backstage, so people can't be seen backstage.
Exactly, and it looks like it's carrying on anyway because nobody can see past this bit. So the brick looks like it's carrying on with all this going back.
You called it a return. What's a return for people who don't know?
A return is pretty much something off stage. It's a set within a set. So when a door's opened, like the front door for instance, the audience will just see this and they'll think, oh, it's just outside, it's just
not
a street.
Full bit of set, it's more just a front to it, so it looks like there's something more there when there's actually not anything there.
So it looks like it
carries on, so looks like it's actually, because that's what you need for a house as well, because you have different rooms, you want something behind the door so it looks like there's another room after it. So the audience
pretty much to trick the audience.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I come in and we talk about the construction, can you take me through how you put it together?
Okay, so obviously you can't see a lot at the moment because of the curtains in the way, but it's a pretty normal construction. It goes all the way down to that end, and it's a big rectangular piece. We then use these struts all the way up as the door frame and put these additional supports in, which makes this a lot stronger.
Okay, so what would happen without those supports?
Without these in, this would be... You can see a bit of give in it right now,
but
there'd be a lot more give in.
When the door comes as well, you need the support as well there, and you need the sound. So when it is slammed, because it is slammed quite a lot in the performance, you need that there. It means you get the sound from it, and it means the set doesn't wobble and fall down.
Yeah,
how did you know?
Yeah.
How did you know that sound was going to exist then? Where's that knowledge come from?
Well, we were just
we knew from previous experience, though, didn't we?
Looking at previous sets in the past, it was common sense that you need it to be sturdy for it to make a sturdy sound.
And we wanted it to make a sound. That was one of the main things we wanted, because so many people come through the front door.
Yeah, I recently watched the Mousetrap at the Regent Theatre, and they had door slammings in that, and it was really sturdy. Nothing moved at all, and I thought that's what we need in this set.
So you've used a triangular support, and you've weighted it.
Yep.
Let's talk about the front of the set then, and where your ideas came from and inspiration.
From this, the aesthetics of it.
Yeah.
So, this is the front door that slams a nice sound.
Yeah, it has got good sound.
Obviously, there's a bit of wobble to it, but that's not important. Let's go to the window.
Yeah,
Window's interesting.
Well, we knew that by reading the script, we knew that it was Victorian anyway. So we got all the stylings from, well, looking at Victorian houses and looking at Victorian furniture. So we knew what we wanted it to look like. It was just finding the things that represented the Victorian style.
Could you point out some of the elements of your set that's come from your research then of Victorian style?
Definitely this window, the sash window. That pops up quite a lot in research, and the fact that it's beige and it goes back.
We wanted the depth to it rather than it just being a two-dimensional picture to it. And we knew that we didn't want just one a window like that. We wanted it like a Victorian window, and we looked at them, and they all have loads of different what they call panels in them. So we knew that we wanted to do that, so we constructed that way.
Also, something that came up was tongue and groove came up a lot, and dado rails. There was also other rails across the top, but the height of our set wouldn't really allow for it. It'd look too cramped.
And it didn't really add anything to it, because we had so much on the set anyway, it didn't really add much, so we just wanted to keep it to a minimal.
Yeah. Okay. So this was made really, really simply. This is the whole panel. This is one panel all the way from top to bottom.
Wallpapered on top.
Wallpapered
with
here.
the Victorian wallpaper.
And then this is
as well.
simply routed here from about, if you look right down here, you can just see that it's routed right there, all the way down to the bottom.
Sanded down.
And obviously, just to neaten it off, put the dado rail on, no one can tell, and then a bit of staining.
Polystyrene dado rail, which actually doesn't look polystyrene, which I'm quite impressed about.
Yeah, it does actually look wooden. So
yeah, so we aged it up a bit and made it look like it's been there for quite a long time.
That's what it looks like. Just.
So we added the bit of
polystyrene.
Bit of tea bag into it to make it look a bit more aged.
In order to add the depth, we pretty much replicated exactly the size of this.
The width of it.
Pushed it back and added in 18-inch pieces, so it's 18 inches outwards that way, so 1.5 foot.
Which allowed us to put this little bay window in, which allowed us to have the cushions and.
Is the bay window and cabinet underneath simply decorative?
Oh no, this is used in the set as well.
We can't sit on that, but it's not used anyway, so it's just for show.
The actual cupboard itself is used in the play, where a body is actually stuffed into it. So this door opens. So obviously hiding the audience's view into there.
Which is, it's longer as well with the construction that we made a bit of a mishap, didn't we?
Yeah.
It was this side longer, which makes it better though because it allows more space for the person to get under rather than. It
works out beneficial. So this door is longer
covers
than this
more,
door,
doesn't it?
but it opens up. This one doesn't open. We don't need that one to open.
But it covers the person going in.
And luckily, because we've got curtains rather than actual solid back into it, they can crawl out underneath it, so that's not a problem at all. What else have we got?
William, if we can go back to the routing for a second, can you explain routing and why you chose it over things you've seen done elsewhere and in the past?
Well, in the past we've actually had individual panels, and that's really time consuming, takes absolutely ages, and it can look a bit...
It doesn't look as effective as this, I don't think.
Yeah,
it doesn't give the depth to it.
If there's lights on backstage, you can actually see light seeping through. And
yeah, because we sanded this down and made sure that it was really deep into it, so... And then we aged it up as well, so it looks like it's, well, not new.
This is a much quicker method. Yeah. It takes not long at all, about half an hour at most to do this flat.
And it was easy.
Yeah, definitely. Router's just a simple tool with handles on either side. It digs into it and sends a groove all the way down as far as you want.
But we knew we wanted something on the bottom because we knew we were going to have wallpaper on the top that looked Victorian-like. But we didn't. We thought about paint or another kind of wallpaper on the bottom. We just thought that it would just be too much because this is big pattern. We thought that the tongue and groove would look a lot better.
Yeah, if you look at that wall for a second, that's quite busy. So
and that's why we only have the
clock
on
there.
there.
We wanted it to look more. It's more plain, I suppose, but it adds something else to it rather than it just looking over the top.
And it was cheaper.
Yeah.
So we didn't have to buy the wallpaper or the paint. We could just use the flat that was there and then go into the flat instead of getting another piece of wood, for example, making the tongue and groove.
The white paint that we used was paint from previous shows, so that wasn't a problem at all. So we didn't have to pay for that. The most expensive feature of the whole set was probably the wallpaper, to be honest. Everything else is borrowed or...
Lots of it.
You said that the wallpaper looked Victorian. Can you explain that comment?
Floral patterns are
A lot of swirls and going. I think it's
Yeah,
we were supposed to go up, but one piece of wallpaper was put on wrong, so it was actually going down at one point. So the whole set
continued that thing.
Yeah, so the whole set had to go down. We did actually want it climbing the wall at one point, but I suppose it still looks nice going down because it's all continuing patterns. So.
Why was it important to, when you realised that, to continue that way? How important is continuity?
Well, otherwise the piece that was the wrong way around would stand out like a sore thumb. So
yeah, we made sure that our piece would go with the other pieces. We made sure that the communication between all of our sets, all of the flats were really key because we wanted it all to continue. And
well, the height of the actual dado rail itself, that was important because someone else was working on this flat, so we needed to be in touch with them to know what was happening here.
The tongue and groove and the wallpaper, so, and just the basic what it looks like as well.
Are there any bits and pieces of it that when it joined up to the other set didn't quite work, or any changes you've had to make?
Well, right here it
there's a bit of a
didn't
gap.
properly work, so what we've done is overlap it, otherwise there would be an actual gap that the audience would be able to see. We've overlapped it that way.
It doesn't look too bad from the audience perspective because you're looking down on it and you actually can't see the gap until you're actually in the set, so from their perspective it doesn't actually look too bad.
And there is quite a large gap down there, which obviously is covered by a chair.
Okay.
Just to cover something up.
But there are things that go wrong, even when you're trying to communicate. There's things that are going to go wrong because you can't get everything exactly right. Because they may be working on one set one day and we may be working on the other. But we wanted to make sure that they knew what we were doing and we knew what they were doing.
What means of communication did you set up?
Well, we had the Facebook wall, so we made sure that we put photos on there. So everything that we did, we would take a photo of, and then the whole group would see it, and then they could be able to look at it and give us hints on it as well. So like for the window, we put it up on the Facebook wall, and we asked if we should have anything behind it to make it look like a window.
We were thinking of perspex or laminated sheets.
Well, we didn't have much money in the budget, so we were looking at laminated sheets, weren't we?
Yeah.
So we put that on Facebook and asked if they think it's needed or not, and a lot of people just came back and said it actually didn't give anything to it.
It's not a necessary thing, so that's a cheaper option straight away.
So we got a whole, instead of mine and just Harry's thoughts, we got everybody's thoughts on it because it was all of our set, so we wanted to know what they thought as well as us.
Yeah, it adds everybody.
And it was the cast members as well. We asked the cast members because they're the ones that are working the set. So.
That's quite nice. Why did you include the cast members in the conversation?
Well, it's important that they're part of the process all along.
Yeah, and they know what's happening as well.
Yeah.
They know the set that they're in.
Yeah, they stay in touch with it. They know what's going on with it.
So it wasn't
rather than just turning up and acting in a space. They're
it wasn't just the
acting
window.
In something that they care about.
It was the door as well. So they knew that the weights were going to be on the door because we made sure that they knew about that we were going to get the weights because Laurel talked about it that she was going to get them from the Lyceum. So they knew that they were going to be there and they knew that they could slam the door, which made their performance a lot more realistic because they knew that they could do that.
Yeah, they knew how the set worked. They knew how much it could stand, what sort of pressures it could hold. So yeah, it was like they'd actually lived in the place, so they knew it.
I noticed that you're conscious of the budget and you've had to work wisely. Can you explain the decision you made on the window about what was visible and where you could save money?
Well, straight away, just look right here. We decided we could save a lot of money just by not having a panel there.
Because we knew it couldn't be seen, so
it saves a bit of wallpaper. So we pretty much went straight up to there. One mistake was this was cut too short. That was a little awkward problem.
Yeah.
But
it was solved, so it's fine.
We packed it and pushed it out.
We knew that we wanted that end that way because then that couldn't be seen. So the problem that we made, we re-erected it because
so you hid the problem in the blind spot.
Yeah, well,
exactly.
If that was on that side, it would look rubbish.
And then we knew there was going to be a hole here, so we used wood. We actually recycled this bit of wood. It was wood left over from the set, so we did it right at the end because we knew that we weren't going to use a piece that was going to be a flat, for example. So we put it there
to add a bit of texture. That's sand mixed in with the white paint, so it looks like it's
which was also used on the was also used down here on the
front door,
on the brickwork. So it wasn't like we were creating something else. We were using things that had already been used in other people's sets. So we were working together for that as well.
Okay, I noticed some changes. Your door, for example. Can you talk to us about your door?
Well, if we'd gone with all the other interior doors, as you can see, they've got 6 blocks on them. We decided we wanted something a bit different, just so
it actually looks like a front door.
Just so it would stand out as a front door.
And then we made a decision.
It came just as a white door, like all the rest of them came as.
We made a decision a few days ago that we wanted it actually red, so when it's opened, it actually looks like a front door rather than an interior door because it just, I don't know, it just stands out.
That just says front door straight away when you open that now.
Okay.
It stands out, so that was painted. And it looks nice for that.
I noticed that the handles have been fitted correctly. Why did you choose to put those and the returns on rather than just have what, for example, you sometimes have like a metallic like a magnet to close them? Why have you got proper
just
fittings?
so it sounds like a real proper
Yeah,
door.
we actually
It's like
wanted
that.
it to feel like a house,
That
didn't
proper
we?
click. It just works like a real door. It's easier, really.
I think everybody's come back with the feedback that it actually feels like a real house rather than a piece of set.
Yeah.
So it feels like they're actually in a house and they're working, and then it feels better for the actors as well because they know that they can use it like it's an actual real house.
It was an expensive decision, but I think it's paid off, definitely. It works much better than having magnets on doors.
Because it's a farce, how important also then is the speed of things closing?
Very important, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause one person
pace has to be
comes in.
kept up all the time.
Yeah,
There's
one
always
person
people
goes
going in and
out,
out of doors
yeah.
all the time. Doors being slammed all the time. It has to.
It adds to the
sturdy,
comedy
it
as
has
well.
to stay there.
Because you at one point kick somebody out of the door, and it's nice to just hear the slam of the door, and it adds to the comedy and adds to the acting, I suppose, rather than.
Actually, that's a really good point. There is a comedy to the sound of the door slamming, isn't there? Talk to me about the letterbox dilemma.
The letterbox dilemma. Well, we ran out of time and money, to be honest, on the letterbox, so we simply went with. This is actually something from an iPad box. Quite simple.
We were actually going to buy one, weren't we? I think we did buy one.
We did buy one, yeah, we have bought one, but it would involve cutting into the door and
Which we
setting
didn't
it
wanna
back into the door, which would take a lot of time, and
basically, 'cause then
we didn't have it.
We could use the door again instead of cutting a hole into it. It means that we could actually use the door again for another production rather than just this production alone.
As you can see, there isn't a letterbox on the other side at all.
Now, you made a decision about that. What was your decision and your reckoning about the fact that there wasn't a letterbox on the other side?
It's just one of those things that I highly doubt the audience had noticed it.
It's not
a major feature.
part. Yeah, no. It's not like we look at it and like this is a letterbox. You know, it's just
The
there.
things coming through the post are a part of the play, so we decided to start with the letters already arrived in the morning rather than them being pushed through the door.
Okay.
So that solved that problem.
You've decorated it with dressing and things like that. Can you talk us through the props that you've also got for your piece of set?
Yep, we need walking sticks for the whole show.
Yeah, they're all needed, aren't they?
Yep, umbrellas and stuff, just to pad it out with. If a walking stick is an important part in the actual show itself.
We don't just want a walking stick in there.
If there was just a walking stick in there, the audience would be like, that walking stick's going to be used. So just padded it out with other things to make it look busy, like a lived-in home, really.
Okay. But the umbrella stand was also borrowed. A lot of the stuff in here was actually borrowed from people's houses. So actually, it's actually furniture that people use. But it's very Victorian as well, and all the patterns that are on it. So it kind of goes with the wallpaper that we've got.
You've got a working lamp that you've added.
Yeah,
that's just to add light into it, cast light on either side. We've got another lamp over that side. And obviously then we've got the actual theatrical lights
which
themselves.
can be controlled from the back, I hear. The dim, it's dim from the back, so we work with the technical team.
Okay.
And this, well,
the exposed brick for us.
We pretty much just decided to add that in just so there was something else visually to look
for
at.
Us, that, wasn't it?
We know that if
it's such a long
wallpaper was peeling back, you wouldn't see brick, but that's a bit of artistic licensing.
Is there anything in the play that references?
We talk about wallpaper and the fact that the wallpaper's just been done up, and it's kind of ironic that it's an actual mess, even though it has supposedly been refurbished recently.
Does the lamp?
We just want it to look lived in rather than it just being a perfect set. We don't want it to look like we've just created it, like us set designers have just created a set for the piece. We want it to look like an actual house, and I think there's something got to be wrong in somebody's house, and I think that was what we wanted to do for it. So we chose the exposed brick.
Looking around, sorry, Harry.
Just the theatrical lights would cast just the plain, boring shadows onto it. So
it's
also
texture,
this light here, casting like the hat shadows onto the wall,
and
gives
the
it
brick
another.
as well, which gives it more texture.
Gives it more texture, yeah. It just makes it more interesting to look at.
Now these doors were new, but they look pretty grubby.
Yeah, they've been aged up, coffee stained, pretty much. Coffee staining has been a crucial part in all of our sets that we've made so far. Stags and Hens, that was grubby toilets, that was coffee stained up with urine.
We didn't want it to look too grubby, so we didn't make it too much like the Stags and Hens that was ridiculously grubby.
Yeah, it was.
We wanted it to look lived in, because no person's house is completely white.
And also it brings out the actual routing and texture of the door.
Yeah. Which would be picked up by the lights as well. So.
Okay. The light fittings, they look pretty expensive.
These are, once again, borrowed, so these were completely free for us. There's no actual lights inside these, so they don't actually work, but they're there just for visual effect.
I don't think we need anyway, because we've got the spotlights anyway, and we've
got
the lights.
that lamp there, we've got this lamp here. We've got
the lights outside and in the kitchen as well.
Floodlights here, just so it looks daytime. When,
and in the kitchen when the kitchen's open and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not like we need them lights, we was just going to spend more money. But we put them in, we put the the lampshades in last because we didn't want them to get broken because we knew they're glass and we knew that if people were running around in the set or using it to rehearse, then they'd probably get broken.
Okie dokie. What's the point of the coving at the top? Because the set finishes there. Why did you include that?
It kind of just finishes it off nicely. It's something just kind of solidifies the set itself, brings it all into the space.
It's also aged as well, so it looks like, you know, because as you get to the top of your house, you don't really start to clean it, so it's a bit dirty up there. So I think it's a bit more aged, but
and
that's also
Victorian.
Paul's isn't it? Yeah, it's the Victorian coving. We found that through our research, so we made sure that we had the tongue and groove, and then the whatever it's called, the banister, or the what's it called?
The dado rail.
Dado rail, that's it. And then the coving at the top. So we all wanted to tie in so it looks like an actual house rather than just... And we didn't want it to finish. It gave it a finish to it.
Rather than it would just like blend into the curtains and people would be looking at the curtains, drawn to the curtains, but that white line
and then against the black as well, yeah. Against the black, it just makes sure that the house is actually finished.
It's a margin on the set, yeah.
Finally, is there anything that if you had more money or more time you'd change, and why?
If we had more money, more time, I'd love to put a letterbox in. I'd love to have a door frame. That would have finished it off really nicely.
I think the problem, probably for me, the window. I think we'd like to get an actual window. Maybe borrow one from somewhere if they weren't using it. Or
yeah.
I don't know. I think the Priory had one, didn't they? But we weren't allowed to use it because they were using it at the time.
Yeah, from non-touch players at theatre, they were using a window that would have been perfect.
Exactly.
For it,
so if we'd have booked that out sooner, or I think the window that was done very well, not very last minute, but it was done last minute, and it was made from all the little bits of wood that we hadn't used. So I think that's a bit that we're not too proud of. We're proud of that we made it and stuff.
Also, I'd like to make these light fittings actually work. That would have been a nice feature, but they look nice as they are. So. But
we are proud of our set. Our flat in particular, we took a lot of care into, and we made sure that it was.
Yeah.
It was good for what we'd done.
Yeah, I'm very happy with it.
I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
It worked well, so it's fine.
Yeah, it looks homely.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.